Hello, everybody. Today we're talking about how to foster an optimal working relationship between physician leaders and hospital administrators. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. I'm the CEO and founder of Lead Physician Online Leadership Program for physicians by physicians, and also the Chief Medical Officer of American Endovascular. Go to our YouTube channel to listen to any prior ones and be notified for future ones by subscribing. I'm going to be introducing you to a very special, unique person. His name is Dr. Bernie Klein. And Dr. Bernie Klein has had the unique experience of being not only chief medical officer for 9 years, and now over that is a CEO. He wrote this chapter in the book that we're going through, the CEO and the CMO. Okay, and there's a commentary by Rex Hoffman in this book, which is I'm also an author of, and I'm just grateful to get to know these physicians. And he is so unique in that he has a perspective of both. He's been the chief medical officer and he's become the CEO. And how can we, bridge the gap between administrators and physicians? Thank you so much, Bernie, for being on here. Here he is.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that he's the chief executive of Providence Holy Cross Medical Center in LA for how many years? 16 years?
Gosh, I think it's 17 years.
17 years, and he's the former CMO. Tell us a little bit about that experience. I don't think there's that many physicians who've been CEOs. And how has this unique experience allowed you to write this chapter?
Yeah, so starting out as chief medical officer, of course, my focus was quality, high reliability, safety, medical staff, infection prevention, appropriate utilization. And I think what that did was that gave me a huge advantage in terms of building a relationship with the medical staff. Because as a chief exec, if your medical staff isn't supportive, the game's over. And so I already had the relationships and the support of this phenomenal medical staff at Holy Cross.
Wow.
Then moving over to the chief exec, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes. So tell us about that transition, and how did people react when they found that out?
The reaction was a bit overwhelming. I was driving home right after it was announced, and I received a phone call from a chief of staff of a sister hospital. And I was thinking, well, why is she calling me? She doesn't practice at my hospital. What does she want? Well, she was so excited that one of us had become the chief executive of a hospital. I really felt the weight, quite honestly.
Wow. And would you say after 17 years that it's a doable job for physicians, for those physicians out there
very
who are
much
interested?
So. Very much so.
Wow.
It is a great job for a physician, and I think it's important for a physician to do it.
Right. And what makes it unique to have that physician perspective as a CEO?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is how I approach managing the hospital, but also how I approach the physicians. The physicians love it because when they come to me with a clinical issue or wanting a piece of equipment, I can pick up on it right away, what the purpose is, what the need is. I speak their speak, I get their language. Also, when I manage, I tend to look at best care of our people. As technologically advanced as healthcare is, it's still very much people dependent. And I feel very strongly if our caregivers, our employees, and our physicians aren't engaged, the game's over. That drives best patient experience. And you have to have highly reliable quality and safety. That drives growth, which then drives financial success.
Awesome. So how do we get, for those of us, most of us are not physicians in the CEO position. We have to deal with the CEO. So how do we as physician leaders, how do we optimize that relationship so that we can be heard, so that we can work together, so that we all can be successful?
That's a great question. I mean, one, we have to do what's best for patient care, no matter what position we're in. And unfortunately, we can't do everything for everybody at every hospital. So what oftentimes I'll be in medical staff meetings and physicians will say, well, we just need to do this, or the nursing staff needs to do that. Well, the problem is in our case, we have over 800 members of our nursing staff. How am I going to get 800 people to do the exact same thing? Right. So I have no problem with physicians. I want physicians to raise concerns. I'd love them to come with ideas for how to solve it, but they all have to keep in mind the financial impact of it. And the question is, how can we make it easy to do the right thing and hard to do the wrong thing? Then we'll be successful. Then we'll be highly reliable.
So we're talking about some top 3 things that can foster this relationship, and I kind of broke it down based on what you said in your chapter, and you've laid it out, and your co-author for that has also reiterated what you've said. So let's go through that, and just, I mean, you know, those of you who want to hear more, just read the chapter on it, but I just want to get a taste of what you had to say.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts off with trust and transparency. If you don't have trust, then you're not going to be able to do anything together. And healthcare is truly a team sport. And then what I've learned over time as chief medical officer is I need to be transparent with the medical staff and my staff in general. You know, we're all adults. We can take it, the good and the bad. The worst thing you can do is hide or not follow up. I mean, how many times have physicians listening to this podcast gone to administrators, said, I really need this, or I'm really frustrated about this, and there's silence? It just makes you more frustrated. You're better off hearing, I'm so sorry, we can't, and here's why, than no answer at all, or the kicking the can down the road.
Right. So good. Thank you. And then the second thing that you wrote down is role clarity. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's really important between the CMO and the chief executive. My CMO happens to be Dr. Rex Hoffman. We talk multiple times a day. Physicians may come to Dr. Hoffman, they may come to me, they may come to our CNO. So we just want to be clear who's doing what so that we don't end up, 1, duplicating our efforts, and 2, making sure that we're aligned when we speak to the physicians or to the caregivers, the employees as a whole.
Which brings us to number 3, communication and alignment.
Yeah. You cannot communicate enough, especially in times of change. If you don't communicate, people make assumptions, which is maybe accurate, but oftentimes isn't. And then we need to be aligned. We have to be arm in arm towards the goal of highly reliable quality and safety, and then we'll be successful.
So what if, the complaints that I hear from physicians who work in hospitals? I don't work in a hospital center, but they say, well, they don't really understand the patient care component. Now you're the CEO who's been the CMO who understands that, so it's easier. But what about that CEO who's a finance background, who has no patient care experience? How do you align yourself and communicate with that person?
Well, I think ideally you have to bring it to their level. So you're going to have to explain it in simple terms, invite them to come around with you and see it firsthand and see the challenges. I have a huge advantage. I worked as a hospitalist for many years, so I know what a well-run hospital looks like from the inside out. But a CFO may not, and it may not be in their comfort zone. So it's really critical that, again, you explain it clearly and then bring them out into the field and show them it firsthand. I even had a doctor once, because I don't go in the OR much, right? He grabbed me and said, you got to go look at these OR lights. This isn't acceptable. And you know what?
That's great.
I went in there and looked, and he was right.
Yep, that's so good. And you know what? Sometimes, even though that CEO person, he or she may seem very competent and confident in what they're doing, they might not be very shy when it comes to patient care and not want to go and not even know how to get in there. So you doing that as a physician leader, that's a great idea. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking about this. I appreciate it. How can people reach out to you, Bernie? If they have any questions, can I share your contact info?
Absolutely.
All right. So here's your email, bernard.klein at providence.org, and his office number, 818-496-4544. So if you got interested in getting the CMO guidebook, which is not just for people who want to be CMO or are CMO, but it's for any physician out there who wants to understand a little bit more about leadership, and it gives you all the pearls and experiences of physicians who've been there and done that. Go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/CMO guidebook, and also you can go call customer service to order at 800-562-8088. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have a topic on physician leadership, and we are going to be interviewing more people, more physicians from this book, this valuable book, reach out to me at info@drlcco.com. And if you're interested in getting a leadership program, we have a program that's starting at the end of July at leadphysician.org. So any last bit of words for us, Bernie, as we close here?
Well, first off, thank you so much for allowing me to participate. But my last few words are, I strongly encourage my physician colleagues to get involved, to assume leadership roles, become a CMO, become a chief executive, because if we aren't the ones making the change, somebody else will for us. And only we really understand what it's like to be in the trenches. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Until next time, everybody. Take care.